Hi guys, I'm Melissa and I'm back with another video, and today it's time for my weekly wrap-up. Before I get into the things that I've been reading over the past week, I just wanted to mention that I first and foremost have been feeling a little off today because yesterday we had a big event in my city because of there's a new highway stretch that has been built. So now that the highway goes all the way to our city, which was such a big event, and we usually, when there's new highway stretch, we make highway runs. So like there would be different activities, sports events all along the highway. In this specific event, there were two distances on bicycle. Like there was a 30-kilometer one and there was a 60-kilometer one, and then there was a half marathon. There was 10-kilometer run, 5-kilometer run. There was a 5-kilometer or 30 kilometers rollerblade run, or roller ski if you prefer that. And then there was some walking distances as well on 5 and 10 kilometers. And yeah, so there's a lot of participants. I think 7,000 had decided they wanted to participate in one of the races. And yeah, I went for the 30-kilometer bicycle race with my dad and my cousin. And my dad and me, we ended up going the distance in 1 hour and 14 minutes, which is a lot faster than I was expecting. I haven't been on the bicycle for the past month, and I have never really been going that distance before in terms of my bicycle races. It's always been around 20 kilometers or a little more than that, and usually I've been a little lower than 20 kilometers per hour. But with this one I went 25 kilometers per hour, so yeah, that was a lot faster than usual. And I think our max top speed was 30 kilometers an hour at one point, and that was pretty amazing. But I think we just run with the flow. I think there was a lot of excitement, and I think that just gave us a little more power or something, I don't know. But I definitely ended up doing a lot better than I expected. I expected around 1 hour and 30 minutes, so that was great. And I was number 57 of 400 plus women who had signed up for this specific distance, so that was pretty amazing. My dad was number 138 in the men's distance, in the same distance. And yeah, my mom went for a 5-kilometer run and my brother went for a 10-kilometer run, so we had a lot of things we had to see, and it was a lot of fun. But I was so cold afterwards. Like, I went home to get changed and I went back to watch my mom and my brother run their runs, and it was just so cold because it was so windy, and I don't know, I used a lot of energy to stay warm. And yeah, today I feel like I have the worst hangover in history, and my knees are hurting so badly. And then sadly this morning, or this afternoon, just around noon, I discovered that our beloved singer, musician, and yeah, we call him our national bard. I think that's what you will call it. He's just known by everyone like a national treasure thing, and he passed away earlier this morning. And yeah, I'm honestly really sad about that. I didn't realize it would get to me that much, but I think his music has always been part of my life, as well as all other Danes, I think. And so that was a really rough thing to take in, and I was already feeling a little bad, so yeah. But enough talk about that. I'll just get into the books that I read over the past week. I managed to finish 3 things, so let's get into them. The first book that I finished was The School for Good and Evil by Soman and Chainani. It features these 2 girls. They are called Agatha and Sophie, I think. Yeah. Sophie has always been the pretty one, the one who usually does all the right things. She believes that she would be going to the school for good, because in this world there's talks about how when you're a certain age, you're going to possibly take part in either the school for good or the school for evil. And the school for evil is where all of the villains in our fairy tales have been at school, and the school for good is where all of the princesses and heroes and all of that they go to. And so when finally they are going to be joining the school. They are mismatched, and Agatha, who is this girl, goes to the school for good, and Sophie, who was thinking she was going to be going to the school for good, went to the school for evil. And I think that there's a mix up, and they try to get around that. But as things goes along, you see why they were at the specific schools. And I didn't know what to expect going into it. I remember buying these and was really hyped for them because I'd heard a lot of great things. But then as time goes along, I saw more and more meh reviews of it. So I didn't know what to expect when I went into it, but I decided to go with an audio of this as I was listening to it. And I think that helped me. The audio was pretty good, and it definitely drew me in, and I really enjoyed Agatha. Agatha was really a well-done character, and I really enjoyed her. I liked her snark, and I liked the humor, and I liked the way that she was not perfect. And Sophie was a little too much obvious in her that she had some villainous tendencies, and I don't know, it didn't really work for me in the same way that Agatha's person worked for me. But I ended up enjoying it mostly, and I ended up on a 3 out of 5 stars for this one. The next thing that I finished was Treasure of the Abbess by Tiffany. I forgot her name, the author's name in the moment, so that's really great. Anyway, this was the first book that I read in the science fiction genre TBR project that I have, and I went into this with pretty lowered expectations because the cover is a bit tacky. I don't know what to say. But I knew going in it was like a story about a kraken and a woman in a romance, and I was like, oh, how's that going to work? I couldn't really see how I would enjoy it. But as things went along, I ended up really enjoying the characters and the way they were getting to know each other. I thought that the story was pretty well told, and I was pretty impressed by it, actually. It sort of read like a paranormal romance story, except that the male hero thing was a kraken with tentacles, and she was a human. And I think ultimately in the end I still couldn't get past the fact that this was a kraken and a human having a relationship, and the whole tentacle sex thing that didn't really do anything for me. So yeah, but apart from that, I really enjoyed the story, and I thought that there was a lot of good moments, and so I ended up actually giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I was really not expecting that, but I enjoyed it. And if you can get past the fact that this is about a kraken and a human, I think you'd enjoy it, or maybe you'd actually find some enjoyment in it anyway. I don't know, but yeah. And the last and final thing that I finished over the past week was The Red Magician by Lisa Goldstein. And this is a standalone book. It's a fantasy, sort of fantasy-like book. It is more in the magical realism spectrum of the speculative fiction genre. It is set in World War II time era, right before the beginning of the World War II in Hungary, and we meet this, we're in this small town that has the majority of the population there are Jewish, and we follow a family that gets a visitor by a strange person who says that they need to get away from the city because terrible things are going to happen soon. And the local rabbi says that he's a madman, he is not to be trusted, and that he will make sure if he comes to the city again, he will kill him. But this 11-year-old girl called Kixie, I think that's her name, they believed him and wanted to help him and wanted to figure out more about him. And so she went in search for him and befriended him and asked him to tell her stories and sort of like that. But as things unfold, terrible things does start to happen because it is around the time that the World War II is happening, and they're all going to the concentration camps and stuff like that. And it was a really well told story, and I was immersed in the story from the beginning to the end. I enjoyed the subtle magic system that was part of it, and the author Lisa is a survivor, I think, of the Holocaust as well. So it was believable a lot, and I think it showed in the book. And the book won a national award back in 1982 when this was released in 81 I think, or either it was 82 or it won an award in 83 or something like that, and then was completely forgotten. And that's actually why I've been reading it for this Lady Vault groups, and I'm really happy that I read it because I really enjoyed it. And I can't it was sort of, the writing style was pretty simplistic and sort of in a fairy tale like esque type, but I enjoyed it, and I thought that it was really, even though the writing was simplistic, it was still really well told and immersive, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. So I highly recommend you check it out if you can get a hand of a copy. It is pretty difficult to find a physical copy to buy, so maybe if you have access to it at the library, or if you can, or otherwise it was on Kindle, which is why I got it for about $6-7. I definitely really enjoyed it and will recommend it if you come across it. And yeah, those are the 3 things that I finished over the past week, and now I'll just get into the things that I've been working on as well, that I hope that I will. I don't think I'll be reading them much over the next couple of weeks, because that will be my horror books in the freezer time, but I will let you know anyway. First up, a book that I hoped that I would have finished today, but didn't, is Frostburn by Patricia Briggs. I am now on page 220 out of about 340 pages, so I have about 100 pages left. I think there are 3 chapters or something. I've really been enjoying it, but yeah, I couldn't find time to read it over the weekend, but I will be reading it soon, I think. I'm also currently about halfway through Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. This is another book from my genre TBR project, and I'm not overly enjoying it. I think it's okay, but also pretty underwhelming in places. But yeah, I will let you know more about it when I finish it. I think that I will finish this over the next week before I get into the horror books, but we'll see. Another book that I've started on, and we'll see how much I get through over the next couple of days, is City of Lies by Sam Hawke. I am currently on page 56 out of about 500-600 pages. So far, I can't tell you a lot about it. It's pretty slow moving, which is expected. It's a high fantasy and it's quite thick, so there's a lot of world building going on. But this follows a poison taster. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it anyway. It's one of my most anticipated reads, so yeah, I'm listening to the audio, and so far that's pretty good. I like the narration style, so we'll see how it ends up going. A book that I thought that I would have finished today was Valhalla Volume 3, because I was actually reading this and then I found out about the magician passing, and I wasn't really in the mood to read this. So, not because of, but I was just not in the mood to read for a while, but I might pick it up later today and see if I'll finish it. But this is the 3rd collection of the Valhalla stories, which are based on Norse mythologies, and every story afterwards there's a small chapter about the actual myths that went into the different stories. And so I always enjoy this collection because I get to know what was what's the actual legends and what did they do to make it into a story that fit with their Valhalla comics, and I enjoy it a lot. But those are the things that I've been working on over the past week. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books that I've been talking about today. What were your favorite stories over the past week? Are there any recommendations to me? As usual, I'd like to know that. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye!